we push this out. And it's one thing for, somebody around the internet to see this and it get put out there, yada, yada, yada. But now a couple of things has happened. Number one, this clip was put out by USA Basketball themselves.
USA Basketball deliberately chose to post this content, not a fan-created account or clickbait media outlet. Their official social media manager selected this particular footage of Paige Bueckers defending against Caitlin Clark and distributed it to their massive audience. Anyone believing this was coincidental clearly misunderstands the calculated nature of women's basketball's power structure.
You trying to tell me USA Basketball doesn't have agenda? It shined through loud and proud when Diana Taurasi made the Olympic team. And Caitlin Clark didn't. Diana Taurasi proceeded to be somebody that was holding the bench down. At the end of the bench, not even able to play. Too old, too tired. Nah.
Remember Diana Taurasi securing her 2024 Olympic spot while Caitlin Clark was excluded from consideration. Taurasi remained glued to the bench throughout Paris, too exhausted for meaningful minutes, while the squad that allegedly valued experienced leadership overlooked the athlete who had recently broken NCAA's all-time scoring milestone and was generating unprecedented WNBA attention. This choice defied basketball logic, yet perfectly aligned with understanding the individuals orchestrating these selections. Sue Bird, Gino Auriemma, the UConn network that's dominated USA Basketball for 20-plus years.
The Angel Reese fans, the Paige Bueckers fans, they wet themselves, right? Yeesh. That's not something you want to think about. And it's one thing for the most horrible place known to man, called social media, to try to take victory laps with this. I mean, okay, you sort of expect that out of the worst of the worst. Do you not? Question mark? But it's another thing.
Paige Bueckers represents identical criteria as her predecessor. This isn't conjecture, it's documented reality. We're witnessing the promotional machine accelerating to validate upcoming moves. USA Basketball releases the footage. Social engagement increases. The storyline becomes established early. Consequently, when selection committees convene for the 2026 World Cup or 2028 Olympics, months of foundation already exist explaining why Paige merits inclusion above Caitlin.
For sports, WNBA insider Annie Costabile was among the media members present at Team USA training camp, and she addressed Clark's defense during the December 15th appearance on the Indy Stars Fever Insider podcast. Quote, "Her shot is still there. That was one of my leads, but that the shot of hers that we're all so familiar with is still there. Her speed was coming back, which I thought stood out. Obviously, her timing on passing, that was still impressive," Costabile said when I would assume Chloe Peterson asked her what stood out about Clark's Team USA performance.
Consider Andrea Carter, WNBA analyst for Front Office Sports Assessment. She attended the December 15th Team USA training session and specifically highlighted Caitlin's defensive play during her Indy Star Fever Insider podcast appearance. Her shooting remained intact. Her athleticism was returning. Her passing instincts stayed remarkable. However, defensively, anyone following Caitlin's development recognizes improvement opportunities. Observing her compete against Kelsey Plum, then witnessing her matchup with Paige. This isn't about choosing sides. You're evaluating how these athletes will collaborate eventually. Notice that phrasing, not whether they'll collaborate. When they'll collaborate eventually, the verdict has been signaled.
And then seeing her and Paige on each other. I don't think it's a matter of one versus the other. You're watching, kind of evaluating how these two players are going to operate together one day. And I think that was so more exciting than telling. I mean, it's funny. So we're going to take the one thing about Caitlin's game and we're going to go after Caitlin over it. You knew that was going to happen. This was going to happen. We're going to zero in on this one thing after she's been injured Played 13 games.
Carter's defensive critique omitted crucial context. Caitlin Clark participated in 13 contests following her injury return last season, 13 games without a complete offseason for defensive development because of rehabilitation requirements, no training camp for conditioning enhancement because of her return to play schedule. She arrives at a December exhibition event, still eliminating rust, yet her defense becomes the talking point that analysts feel obligated to address publicly. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers has sustained major injuries throughout her collegiate tenure, including ACL reconstruction and tibial plateau damage, yet identical scrutiny regarding those injuries' impact on her lateral movement or defensive awareness remains absent. The evaluation criteria aren't consistently applied.
They played like 3 times. Man, delete this. Yeah, this is USA Basketball posting this. I mean, what are they doing? They knew this was gonna be a Caitlin Clark versus haters post, and that the haters were going to swarm this. To be honest, it's unprofessional that USA Basketball posted this and pointed it out. They knew that was going to get seized on. You're already trying to elevate Paige over Caitlin.
Examine the responses beneath USA Basketball's post. They anticipated this reaction. Paige dominated Clark. Clark's overrated. Paige surpasses Caitlin always. The critics responded precisely as expected. That was intentional. USA Basketball didn't share this footage for showcasing excellent defense or thrilling action. They shared it knowing it would drive engagement, establish perception, and provide supporting evidence for those attempting to undermine Caitlin Clark. Since her professional debut, this represents narrative engineering actively occurring. You establish the impression early, allow social media cultivation for months, then reference it later as justification for roster choices already determined.
That the haters were going to seize on this. Honestly. Please, someone please gift that. I can already hear the CC fans coming. See, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They knew. Cooked CC. Shout out to USA Basketball for giving us the content we wanted.
The UConn network operates transparently regarding this approach. Gino Auriemma promoted Paige Bueckers before her professional debut. Sue Bird maintains her position as USA Basketball's decision-making representative for years, while media analysts like Carter structure discussions around Caitlin's defensive shortcomings while presenting Paige as the expected selection for future rosters. This defines women's basketball operations. Current performance level becomes secondary. Priority goes to narrative alignment and approval from decision makers.
Agenda. Propaganda. Tell me what you think. It is Caitlin Clark fans against everyone all over again. Here we go. It's not even 2026 yet.
Here's the fundamental issue. Caitlin Clark generated extraordinary attention for women's basketball. She filled venues. She produced television viewership the WNBA hadn't achieved in generations. She engaged casual sports audiences with women's college basketball, then sustained that momentum professionally. Despite that influence, that cultural significance, she was excluded from the Olympic roster, favoring Diana Taurasi, who couldn't maintain court time. We're observing identical patterns repeating. USA Basketball shares content designed to promote Paige while questioning Caitlin. Media insiders emphasize Caitlin's defensive concerns while minimizing injury recovery context and preparation constraints. UConn connections maintain influence over international competition roster construction. Most frustratingly, Caitlin Clark controls none of these factors. She cannot control USA Basketball's social media content. She cannot control media analyst podcast framework. She cannot control selection selection committee biases. She can only perform basketball at elite levels, hoping performance eventually outweighs politics. Anyone familiar with women's basketball understands this outcome. The Yukon Network supports their member. Sue Bird's preferences carry substantial influence. Gino Auriemma's opinions affect decision-makers. Players like Caitlin Clark, developing outside that system without relationships with key power holders, require double effort for half recognition. USA Basketball's posted clip wasn't celebrating defensive excellence. It established narrative foundation. That narrative will accompany Caitlin Clark throughout the Olympic cycle, regardless of her performance or defensive improvement. In women's basketball, agenda frequently supersedes accomplishment. Monitor developments over 18 months approaching the 2026 World Cup. Observe media coverage framing Paige versus Caitlin. Notice which athletes receive USA Basketball promotional feature. Recognize who benefits from doubt during roster decisions. Question whether those decisions prioritize optimal team construction or maintaining control while rewarding system loyalty. Caitlin Clark will continue her approach. Defensive improvement, leading Indiana, producing undeniable impact. Statistics. Whether that overcomes institutional bias operating in women's basketball for decades remains uncertain. Current evidence suggests otherwise. If Paige Bueckers joins the 2026 World Cup roster over Caitlin Clark, despite Caitlin's superior professional statistics and league impact, will you accept explanations claiming pure basketball reasoning, or recognize the continuation of patterns obvious since Olympic team announcements excluded the player who transformed women's basketball's cultural relevance?